All right. In today's video, we are going to perform the configuration of TLS connection for SQL Server on Windows. In the previous video, we did the TLS configuration for SQL Server on Linux. So for the SQL Server, the TLS connection configuration is relatively simple compared to IBM DB2 and Oracle. And as demoed in the previous video, it's relatively simple. So today we're going to do the similar thing for the Windows. And for Windows, it is a little different from Linux, because on Linux we deal with files. On Windows, we're gonna put those TLS information into Windows certificate store, but the general procedure is similar. So here's the diagram to illustrate our environment. So I have a server, Windows 2022, and with Microsoft SQL Server 2022 version. So I have a login SA, gonna use SA login password, this one. So on this Windows server also has SSMS installed, so I can make a connection. Okay, so I prepared two clients. One, it is a Windows client. So it is a Windows 11 and have the SQL CMD installed or SSMS installed, so we can establish the connection. I also have a Linux client. In this case, it is a Ubuntu Linux. So so to make the connection, okay. So Linux client, okay. Okay, so this is our environment. Okay, let me minimize this window. Let's go over the steps. So the steps is pretty clear, documented by Microsoft. If you do a Google search, you will. So I already copy paste here. This is the URL. So let's visit this Microsoft page. Okay, you can do a Google search if you want. It's so I just copy here. It says configure SQL Server database engine for encrypting connections. So step 1 says configure SQL Server to use certificates, and step 2 configure the encryption settings in SQL Server. So basically just 2 steps. And however, in my document, I just list a few more because we also need a prepared certificate. And after that, let the SQL Server to use the certificate, okay? So I'm going to minimize this web browser, and so I listed like this. Step 0, called prepare. We can obtain the certificate. So in the corporate environment, most likely we are in the domain environment, and also we may obtain the CA certificate. However, in our lab, because we primarily is going to use non-domain like work group, so we're going to use a self-signed. But regardless, it is self-signed or CA, the procedure is the same. The step, first you need obtain the certificate, either you create or obtain from the CA and from the security to provide the certificate. After that, and so we're going to configure the SQL Server to use the certificate and configure the encryption setting in the SQL Server. So that is going to be they use SSMS to configuration manager to use the certificate. It's very similar to the Linux, okay? Because the SQL Server engine needed to know where the certificate is and use it, okay? So we will see it shortly. Also, we will test connections, okay? So before we do the setup, let's do the connection. So this is the server. So you can see it. It is the server name and Windows 2022. So let me do a local connection. Use SSM. Okay. So we're gonna connect database engine. This is the local connection. We're gonna use the Windows authentication. So let's see, we connected and all right. So before we connect to the before we set up the encryption at TLS, let's do a quick connection test. Okay. Let me first get a script to run. So I'm gonna run a TCCO to check the current connection. Okay. So if I run this TCCO, you can see currently I have the local connections because this is my local host. I'm connecting using the SQL Management Studio, okay, SSMS, okay. Also here you see an encrypt option is false. So at this moment, it's not enabled. So let me also do a quick test from my client, okay. So on the upper screen, it is my Windows client, okay. So I'm going to do a SQL CMD -s. So the server name, you need to specify whatever server you're going to connect, right? So in the username, I'm going to use SA user and the password SQL. So now it's connected. So let's refresh this one. You can see it. I established a TCP connection, but it's not encrypted. And from this host, the program is SQL CMD. Okay. So I'm going to establish another connection. It is the lower screen, the yellow one. So this is a Linux box, okay? It is, it doesn't matter, just a Linux box. So we can try to use as a client to do the connection test, okay? So if we do this one, you can see it is Ubuntu 2004, okay? So similarly, I'm going to do a test. And it's a username, password, server name. -c means -c, it is, let me check, I forgot to do the name. So -c, it is, let's see. Trust server certificate, okay? So that is needed for the for this test. Let me remove my, let's see what it's going to see, okay? You can see it is field for self-signed certificate. So, and we can just use this one, okay? So it's connected. So let's go back to the server to check the connection, execute. You can see I'm connecting from this Linux host using the SQL CMD. And this is the ODBC connection, okay? Anyway, all right, so we already tested. Now we're gonna do the TLS config. So because this time we're going to use the self-signed, we just copied a script from the Microsoft. Let's go back to the where it is. Let's go back to that page. So Microsoft did provided a script for us to use. So you see, this is the PowerShell script to create a self-signed certificate. So the certificate is going to in this location, local machine, cert : local machine /my. Okay, so we just copy this and run this. Oh, I can run this script. Okay, so before we run this, let's look at the certificate store. So I'm going to open this one. So I'm going to invoke a command called cert lm. Okay. So cert lm is the Microsoft Windows certificate manager. So we're going to open this personal. You see right on there's nothing. Okay. So I'm going to go ahead to create this cert, and I'm going to simply just run this PowerShell script. Okay, so it is currently on my desktop, so I'm going to simply run this and create the cert. Okay, let's take a look. So this is the script, very generic. Okay, so we're going to go ahead to run create. Now it is created. You see, it is created the some print and also subject. Okay, now let's refresh here. Refresh. You can see it. The certificate is created, so it is issued to this this machine. Okay, you see here. So you can also do the property. You can see additional information, but here is self-signed. It's very simple. All right, so this is the certificate. Now we're going to go to step 2. So we're going to configure the SQL Server to use it. So let me close those window and invoke the SQL Server Configuration Manager. Okay, here is the SQL Server Configuration Manager. Okay, let me also start the SQL engine. It doesn't matter, I can leave it at this. So to configure the SQL Server Manager, so we need to go to the SQL Server Network Configuration and protocol, not protocol. It's this one. Let me see which one. It's SQL Server Service. Yeah, it is this one. SQL Server Network Config protocol for this one. Right click, property. Here it is. You see here it is the certificate. Okay, so for the certificate, so we're gonna just do an import. Okay, so we're gonna import the certificate from the Windows and let the SQL Server to use. And so not import. We just pick. So we're gonna pick this certificate from the Windows certificate store we just saw from early when we open the cert LM, that utility. So we're going to pick up this certificate. Also on the flag, so we're going to see false encryption. So let's say we're going to false encryption. Use yes. Okay. Then let's apply. Let's see. Okay. Okay. All right. So then this is very similar on the Linux, okay? So because once we put those parameters in that location and configure the SQL Server engine, use it, the similar thing. So here we just see SQL Server engine is going to look at that certificate in the certificate store and use it, okay? So now it says you need bounce the instance to take effect. So I'm going to restart this instance. And now SQL Server is ready to accept the TLS connection, encrypted connection. Okay, so we'll take a check quickly. Okay, so once this server started up, so let's do the local connection. I'm gonna launch this SSMS and take a look. Okay. Let's see. It didn't start. Let me take a quick look. All right, find the problem. So the problem it is, let's go back to our document. In the Microsoft web page, it's also mentioned these things. It says SQL Server service count is granted access to the certificate's private key. So that's the step we need as well. Okay, let's go back to here it is. Configure SQL Server. At the end, you will see what Microsoft mean. Okay, generate. Let's see where it is. Says here. So let me do a search. Control F. Private. Okay, here it says SQL Server certificate behavior with permissions. It says SQL Server service account is granted access to. How we do that? So let's go back to the beginning. Okay, so early when we launch this search LM, we know we create the we already have this certificate being created. So for this search, we need to give the access, read or write, read access to the Microsoft SQL Server service account. Similar for the Linux, we put into that location that is that MS SQL user to have read access to that key and private key. So here it says manage the private key. From here you can see right now it's given to system administrators. Okay, so we need to give the access to the service account. So because we use the not domain user, it is the NT service. So we're gonna use this user and give to the permission. So let me enter the NT service and do a check name. So it's MS SQL Server. So this is the user. And apply. Okay, so we give a read. Also, it doesn't matter. I also give the full control. That's fine. This is the service account. Okay. Click OK. So now here it is we need to give this certificate its private key, grant access to the SQL Server service account. Okay. So now let's go back to the SQL Server configuration manager. We try to start it up. Okay. This time we should start it. Okay. Now it's started. Okay. So now let's go to the this one. Let me close restart this SQL Server SSMS. Close. Okay, so let's restart it. Okay, So I'm going to restart this SSMS and to do the connection. Okay. So let's do a connect. It says you cannot connect because now the SQL Server enabled encryption. So we also put the encryption to false. So here you can see it. It says I'm using the newer version of SSMS. The interface is a little bit different from the traditional one. So here it says I'm going to use mandatory. Okay. So mandatory and connect. It still says no. So it says need trust server certificate because we use self-signed. So that is why. So now we connected. Okay. So let's check the connection. So this is the SQL we're going to run. Okay. Now we execute. You can see it. All right. So you see now the encrypt option is true. That means the connection, it is established. And this is a local connection. You can share the memory. It's not TCP, right? It's coming from the Microsoft SSMS and from localhost. And they use the NTLM. Okay. All right. So everything is working as expected. TLS encryption is on. So let's go to the do the same test now. Okay. So I'm going to do a test to connect from Windows client. Let's do this. Okay, it's connected. And now let's check. Okay. Now you can see it, and the encryption is true, right? So this is use the SQL authentication, use TCP protocol from this host, okay? And login name is SA. Okay, so it's also using the TLS connection, okay? So let's do the Linux connection test. So Windows connection test is going to be this one. So I'm going to do the similar thing. Okay, so SQL CMD. Okay, it's connected, and that is by default. Okay, so actually we can also try use -n. That is encrypted. The same thing. Okay, but anyway, so let's check on the server side. So you're gonna do execute. You can see the encrypt option is true. That means the connection, it is encrypted. So that is the way to configure the TLS. In the real world, if you use the CA, so it is so this you don't need to run this self-signed. You just import the CA certificate into the certificate store, and then configure the SQL Server to use this certificate. So let me here see. Yeah. Okay, here. There should be this this one. Make sure the SQL Server service account is granted access for that certificate. Okay, the private key. Basically, the SQL service can read that private key. Okay, so that is the basic step. Okay, so as I said, it's very similar to the Linux config. It is you get the cert, import into Windows cert certificate, and I think this should be says. Let me go back to Microsoft document. It shouldn't see. It should. I think it should see config SQL Server. Yeah, here. Install the certificate. This. Okay. So my document is inaccurate. Okay, so it should be this one. Step 1, it should be like this. Okay, install the certificate on the computer that is running SQL Server. That means import into the Windows certificate store. Okay. Similarly, on the Linux, we just copy that 2 files into a location. After that, we're gonna let the SQL Server to use this certificate and give the read permission to the private key. Okay, so that's all for today, and it is relatively simple for the SQL Server to configure the TLS.